This video is quite personal, so bear with me. In my retirement series, this is one element. Should you be unfortunate that your spouse develops a long-term fatal disease. My wife, when she passed away, we lacked only 1 month being married 49 years. We were always very close. At any rate, she developed Alzheimer's. And in all of my planning, I never planned on outliving her. So at any rate, all those plans went out the window. And in the case of a catastrophic and long-term illness, there's no such thing as having too much money or even enough money to deal with it. So we were bleeding through our retirement money really fast. And obviously, it wasn't going to last long enough to see her through to the end. Fortunately, and this is by chance, some of my assets were in my name only. The biggest exception was the house. But we were going to need some assistance. Now, we live in the state of Florida, and so to qualify for Medicaid, which was going to be required for any in-home help, the house is exempt. But at any rate, we had to go to an attorney, and this is while she was still competent to sign documents. We went through essentially a financial divorce, not an actual divorce, but basically I had to fill out a form, in which case I disavowed any responsibility for her care. Talking about a heartbreaking situation that was. But it had to be done because we would have been totally financially decimated. So at any rate, and we go through all of that, what that bought for us was at its height, I got 27 hours a week, nursing assistants in the home, weekly visit by an RN, and as needed in-home care by physician's assistant who operated under the authority of the MD that was assigned to our case. Now, here's a little math problem. How many hours are there in a week? If I did my math right, it's around 120 something. So 27 hours is a drop in the bucket, but since by the time we got a month or two down the road, I had to move a hospital bed in, and it was basically palliative care for her. And except for those 27 hours, I was the only one providing that care, which I was, glad to do, but physically demanding for a young person, much less someone like myself up in years. So I'm going somewhere with all this. Please bear with me. So anyway, she passed about 2019, 4 years or so ago. And I had never been alone. When I was young, I lived at home. up until the time I went into the Air Force. Never alone there. And then within a year after getting out of the Air Force, I found my future wife, and we married in 1970. So upon losing her in 2019, here I was alone. Never been there before. So it only took me a short period of time to realize I needed to find someone that I could share the rest of my life with. So at any rate, I was very fortunate. About 2 years after my wife passed away, I met this lady whose husband was retired military, and she'd been married 20 something years. And now what do we do? Well, she bought a home in the same community that I'm living in. And so what are our options here? Well, in our particular cases, since a portion of our income is based on military retirement, and that is greatly diminished. In some cases, parts of it are eliminated, like she gets TRICARE health benefits. If we were married. The other thing is, at our age, we're both set in our own ways. So we really didn't want to occupy a single dwelling. That would be too much of not being alone. So anyway, the cure for that, I think, it's been over 2 years now, is that we are forever engaged. We will never actually marry, but we needed some kind of structure. What do we call each other? Anyway, we're engaged, and that solved a lot of those problems. And I'm bringing all this up to say that retirement, has many unforeseen consequences. But when you're planning for retirement, it's a good idea to keep your finances separate. Well, yeah, when you're still married, separate your finances, so that if one of you becomes fatally ill on what would be a long-term illness, it doesn't destroy the finances of both of you. Now, in my particular case, what was left in her name, with the exception of the house, was totally gone. And it wasn't small money. I mean, we're talking, I don't know, probably went through about $100,000. And all that to keep her at home, as opposed to putting her in a nursing home. And she stayed at home up until 10 days before she passed away. At that point in time, she could no longer swallow and required an IV and stuff I couldn't do at home. The day after she was admitted to the hospice, her kidneys failed. So at any rate, in 11 days, her suffering was over. I know this is a downer, but these are the kind of things you need to consider when you're planning your retirement. There's no such thing as having enough money to face an ordeal like that. From the point where she had to leave her job to the point where she passed away was about 6 years. So she left her job before she was able to draw Medicare. At any rate, it was from that point on, it was just a steady drain on our resources. This year again, I was happy to do that. I would have spent the last penny we had. But the thing of it is, if you're going to qualify for Medicare, at least in the state of Florida, you can't have anything except a roof over your head. And they allow just a tad of income for not much. Really, you're basically all you're allowed is a roof over your head. So anyway, on that downside, I'm going to close out this video and let you think about that. I mean, really, before all that, our visions of retirement were altogether different, and we put aside enough money that we could have lived quite comfortably, and did, up until the point where she had to quit her job. So hope for the best, but plan for the worst, I guess, sums up this video. I have a whole playlist on planning for retirement. You'll find a link to that down in the description and in the comments. Thank you for watching.